I would like to invite to stage Dr. Farzam Kamambaldi. So please come up to stage and we will begin proceedings. Thank you.
Greetings and best morning, although late morning. Please, friends, welcome to sit down. It is an honor and pleasure to be amongst mostly friends and in a very informal way discuss about the future and the direction of blockchain, crypto, and global digital economy. I will be very brief because of the time. The main message is to explain that our entire industry of blockchain, crypto, digital is moving towards a totally new stage. In fact, it has faced the greatest challenge yet, and yet it will emerge in the most forceful way. The entire global economy of $200 trillion, we are in the blockchain crypto only 0.5%. We are less than 1%. It went up to 1.5%, it came down. 1/3 of the industry was wiped out, only in 1 year. However, we know that in the future, the entire the economy of the world, the whole, by then $300 trillion, all of it, 95, 98, 99, 100% of it, sooner or later will become totally digital. That is the inevitable. And it will be beyond blockchain. Other enablers will appear, quantum computing, spatial web, and way beyond that. So it's called faster, larger transactions, automatic and seamless, and yet accumulated and distributed. However, there are a few corrections that will be made. And the corrections are in the following areas. I have given a package of advice as invited by the US's #1 federal institution to manage and correct the whole industry. So in that package, I have said the whole industry, first, layer 0 protocol, layer 1 and layer 2 and exchanges. There are a few irregularities. All the exchanges have exaggerated in the past. So they are using algorithm and bots and creating 20x, 50x, 100x extra. And so first, you cannot take away algorithm from the whole computing and economy, but you can use it only for analysis and not for market making. So zero bots, zero basically algorithm in market making. So we do what we say what we do, and it will be a real reflection. If 100,000 transactions per day, we don't say it 2 million transactions per day. We don't exaggerate. And beyond that, the exchanges are like fund management. They should keep only 2 to 5% of the money into their own accounts. The rest, all the exchanges should utilize third-party custody. So we will not have FTX syndrome appear again and again. This is only on one layer. The two main suggestions that I told to the highest level in the FBI, that by this implementation, 99% of the crime will be wiped out automatically. But then there are other angles where we have to do corrections. The other correction is that we will not first create coins, go vertical, with no real value underlying. This is called actually crowd financing. The whole industry must move away 100% from crowd financing, start creating first the horizontal, that is the assets, operations, and processes, or combination of that. Have real business underlying, on top of which, on top of this horizontal operation efficiency, create the benchmark of value called coins or tokens or crypto, and not the other way around. The whole first generation, the first 12, 15 years went the wrong direction because it was the crowd financing mentality. I wrote about these 5 years ago, 7 years ago. I was the first speaker of the Dubai Future Blockchain Summit, and exactly this. So the correction will be no more horizontal second, horizontal first. You deliver the promises of white paper first, then create a coin on top of it, so that the coin will be stable and goes on. Whether it is utility or invest in stable coin or investments, it will be solid. The other principle of the changes will be what I called the medley. The medley between, the whole crypto started as a good motive for creating justice, economic justice. That was the whole motive of it. They went anti-governmental and anti-banking because they thought that the government is suppressing the masses and the people, and the banking is stifling the growth of the rise of the poor and the impoverished and the affluence creation on a large scale. However, those who became super rich in the crypto, they themselves forgot their own mission of economic justice, a majority of them. So now that will be corrected again. That means we will have a situation where it will be a medley of government-driven, institutional, and private in a basically multiplay hybrid system. So a superhighway with many loops, let's call it. The future of the blockchain will be much more involvement of the government, much more regulation, and hopefully, based on my advice to the US federal government, you cannot stifle the whole industry. You cannot control it, but you can better manage it. So they will go for a better management rather than control. If you can't beat them, join them. Why would you want to beat them? Join them in the first place. So the next phase of the industry will be actually not being controlled and stampeded upon by the government, but actually empowered. The governments themselves will get into the digital economy, will turn their fiat currencies in digital. I don't call it digital currency, I call it a different name. It's called currency digitalized, very different. They will be creating the 240 countries, each one of them, and sometimes in groupings, such as BRICS. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, they are creating their own coin. So it's going to be government-driven rather than only private-driven. It will be a hybrid between decentralized but also centralized. There is not going to be ever any possibility of fully decentralized system in the world, because any entity, even a family, has an order and has also law within their system. So are the communities, and so are the nations, and beyond that, and a world federation government, but never excessively centralized, and never in chaotic, totally decentralized. It will be again a medley. That is the world polity social order. So will it be in the digital economy. So again, the idea of a superhighway with many loops in and out. But the entire value chain, whether physical, tangible, intangibles, mental, and art, and all the creative forces, all can be calculated, can be given value on coin creation, and can be all playing in a fully functioning, harmonious digital world economy civilization of the future. In no more than 10 years, the classic stock markets will give way to the digital stock markets or exchanges that are, as I said, freed from exaggeration and algorithms and bots in the market making, and at the same time their money is held with responsibility at the third party custody, and then again the healthy medley of government, private, and institutions, and finally the problems that exist in the 3,000 coins of today. Under the disguise of pump and then more pump, actually still is pump and dump. So we will get away from that, I call it crowd financing mentality, and it exists in the regular stock markets also. It's not something that is new to the digital exchanges and the digital projects, but the exaggeration here is much, much higher than even the basically Ponzi schemes that were prevalent in the classic stock markets. So we will find an era of more transparency, more government regulations, more government joining rather than a control and beating down. That's why I said to the FBI, I'm saving you $10 billion as your advisor, because you don't go after one by one finding the villains. There is no villains. The villains are created in a wrong and totally haphazard ecosystem. Once the ecosystem is much more reasonable and well managed and organized, then it will be a very smooth. The basic foundation of the future digital economy will be what we call real value. The real value will be in the form of assets, tangible and intangible, services, and also creativity forces. They will be again be given precise valuations and more accurate, and they will be interchanging their value in the form of blockchain, crypto projects, and also exchanges. And most of it will be built on top of grassroots up. What we call decentralization is actually participation of the grassroots. That's why I stopped my speech, and it was designed this way. Now I am transferring it to say that as an example of the future blockchain and crypto utilization, we will see that the utilization will be in what we call the rural economy, the townships, the villages, and in the forms of agriculture, water, food security, mining, artisanal mining, banking, we call it the village banking, microcredit, and all other operations that you can see in the smaller communities, but much larger of them. However, most of them are not yet online. So structure of connectivity and also data centers all have to spread from the centralized cities to the smaller cities all the way to the townships and villages. As you may know, the entire world of 8 billion population, 88 to 90% of it still lives in the rural areas. So that means 6 to 7 billion population of the world. And that is the target of the blockchain, moving more down to the grassroots. That is why I have invited, especially as an example, the great country, the super rich, the most rich country of the world, potentially, sleeping assets. That is called the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So the country has 100 million population, 88% is in the rural area. And I will introduce our honorable minister and delegation of 12 who have come specially from the Congo. Before that, just 1 minute, and then we will invite the minister. And I created a whole movement called the Collective Peaceful Rise of Africa, and wrote an open paper, whether you call it black paper instead of white paper. It is a manifesto called Future Trends Africa Manifesto, where the entire focus that I had given to China for 30 years as a laser zoom, the whole thing is now shifted to Africa. The entire world will be moving towards Africa. The US economy, my old-time friend Janet Yellen of 25 years before, she went to Africa and announced the content of the Future Trends Africa Manifesto. Africa will set the trajectory of the global finance and economy. 1/4 of the economy. Sir William Ruto, the president of Kenya, whom I met in Washington, D.C. in the US-Africa President Summit, said that the total economy of Africa is $3.5 trillion. Within a decade, it will be 10 to 20x. We will be expecting a $30 to $60 trillion economy in Africa within a decade. That is the creation of 20 nations that are first-class nations, $1 trillion economy each, and they will be exporting aid rather than receiving aid. And this is a phenomenon that will happen within a decade. With that, as an example, as a leader of the masses of Africa in the rural economy, it's my honor to invite our partner, friend, brother, Sir Francois, His Excellency, the Minister of the Rural Economy of the Congo. Please.